Hi, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Kumi. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I'll be showing you how to cut and sew this dress with a little twist. So towards the right hand side, mine is going to be designed with eyelets. As you can see here, I will also be adopting this style of pocket. Without wasting much of your time, let's get started. Here are the fabrics I will be using. It's a plain and pattern. I would also be using eyelets. If you've not used eyelets before, this is what it looks like. There's a part that bulges out like this, and there is the second part that is flat like this. I have folded my fabric. I have also come down with half an inch from the rough edge, and then I am marking the length of the dress plus 1 inch sewing allowance. This fabric is folded into four. That's because I will be cutting the front and the back piece together. The next thing I will do is to indicate our shoulder measurement. Our shoulder is 16. Half of that is 8. I have marked 8. From that 8, I will mark another 8. 7 is going to be for our sleeve length, and the remaining 1 inch is going to be for hemming the sleeve. I will come down by 1.5 inch right there, and then I'll come here to indicate how wide I want the neckline to be. I'll be using 3 inches. So I'll will connect that 1.5 inch to 3 inches neckline. So this slanting is called shoulder slope. If you take a look at your shoulder, you would realize it is not exactly straight. So that is what we just did right here. I will come up here by 0.5 inch. I would also come here to mark 0.5 inch and connect together. This is going to be for our sewing allowance. I will come here and mark 1.5 inch. That's going to be the depth of the back neckline. As for the front, I will be using 10 inches rather. So don't panic. I will come here by 1 inch and connect together. I know I marked 10 inches. You're already wondering if your cleavage will not show. It won't show. Trust me, and I will show you how as we proceed in this tutorial. The next thing I will do is to indicate our waistline. So what I do to get waistline is to simply add 2 to the person's underbust. Our underbust is 14.5 plus 2 gives me 16.5. That's what I just marked. From that 16.5, I will mark 8 inches downward. I will repeat the same process on the other side of the fabric. Mind you, your tape is to be placed on the starting point, not on the shoulder slope. So mark 16.5, and away from that 16.5, mark 8 inches. So this line I'm drawing is the waistline, and this line is the hip line. I will come here to determine how wide I want the sleeve to be. I'll be marking 9.5. Although our sleeve is 15 inches, but I'll be using 18 inches. So the remaining half inch is going to be for sewing allowance. I'm just trying to confirm if what I have up there is what I have here, just to ensure my markings are accurate. Having done that, I'm going to ignore the waistline and come over to the hip line. I will divide our hip, which is 50 by 4, and add 1 inch sewing allowance to it. So when I did that, I got 13.5. You would think 13.5, you would think 1 inch sewing allowance is small until you multiply 13.5 by 4. And then you realize from 50, you now have 54 inches. So from here, whatever I have at the hip, I'm going to deduct 1 inch from it and mark that at the hem of the dress. So it means I'll be marking 12.5 at the hem since I have 13.5 at the hip. I'll place my ruler like this and connect. So remember I said when you multiply 13.5 by 4, you have 54, right? So by the time I hold half inch on both sides, I'm going to be left with 52, which is okay. Confirm the center of your fabric to be sure you have four foldings there and everything is still well aligned. I'm still ignoring the waistline. I'll come over here and mark our bust. What I will do is to simply place the measurement I have at the hip at the bust as well. So I'm marking 13.5. I want the bust to be wide so that I can go in a little at the waistline. I'm just going to confirm what I have here. Can you see? Thank God I confirmed that was 0.5 inch behind. So I will then come over to the waistline finally. So I will simply deduct 1 inch from what I have at the bust and at the hip. So I'll be marking 12.5. I will not calculate the waist like our waist is 35.5. I will not divide 35.5 by 4 and add 1 inch to it because she is curvy and the difference between our waist and our hip is 14.5, and this dress is not supposed to be so curvy. Like the curviness is not supposed to be so noticeable. So that's why I decided not to calculate it, and instead I decided to use the same measurement at the hip for the bust so that I can now come in by 1 inch at the waist. You can see that it's still curvy. It's just not um too curvy. I'll come down by 2 inches here and then I'll give this a curve like this. So the next thing I will do is to trim off the excesses, and I would also recommend that when next you are sewing this and it's for someone who is curvy as this person, do well to just follow this process duly. I'll come over to the waist and notch, and then I'll come over to the hip and notch. Trust me, this is going to come handy as we proceed in the tutorial. I will come to the neckline and trim. I'm trimming the back neckline first. So I will split it open and remove the piece that's inside. That's going to be the back piece, while I leave the one that has the choking on as the front piece. Basically, the difference between the front and the back piece is just the neck depth. I have placed the front and the back piece together with the right side facing the right side. Like the right side of my front piece is facing the right side of my back piece. Go ahead and pin like this. So if your hand is not straight yet, just come here, mark 0.5 inch on both sides and connect with your ruler. Repeat the same process on the other shoulder as well. So you are going to stitch directly on that marking. That helps your hand to be straight. Come over to the side and mark 1 inch. So when I gave it 0.5 1 inch sewing allowance, I already had it in mind to only use 1 inch to stitch it. So come over to the hip line. This is the waist, mark 0.5, the hip, mark 0.5, and connect like this. Connect it to the waist. And then you would remember that when we were going to curve the armhole region, we came down by 2 inches. So at that point where the 2 inches is coming by 0.5 inch as well, then connect like this. Go over to the hem of the sleeve and mark 0.5, then 0.5 here. It looks like a child's play, but it's actually not. So just give it a slight curve, and this is what we have. If you don't want to go through all of that, you can take your tape around like this while you mark your preferred sewing allowance, but I won't recommend more than 0.5 inch. I have stitched and I have gone ahead to overlock the edges. The next thing I will do is to stitch the hem of the dress with 1 inch hemming allowance that we gave it. So come here to the sleeve and do the same thing. I have done that, and this is what I have. I have equally turned it to the right side. The next thing I will do is to notch the midpoint of my neckline. So I'm going to fold it like this, shoulder to shoulder, to enable me notch accurately. From that notching, I am going to measure all the way till I return back to the other side of the notching. So I have 31.5. So that's going to be the length of my collar. I want the collar to be 2 inches wide after stitching. So I'll be marking 5 inches. So that when I fold it and I stitch with half an inch on both sides, I will be left with 2 inches. Remember the collar is supposed to be 31.5 inches, right? On fold, it's going to be 15.7. But I'm going to add extra 2 inches to it. It's not always good to do extra. If you're using a stretchy material, by the time it might have gotten longer or anything, just add extra to it to be on a safe side. Even if you eventually are going to trim it off, add extra to it. So this is it, and I have gone ahead to iron my cotton estate to it. I have folded it into two, and I'm going to give the midpoint a notch. So I'm going to place the notching here on what we previously notched on the main fabric, and I'll secure with pin while I continue pinning the two together. Can you see our excess? I would rather have excess than have shortage. So I have stitched. So this is the end line, but from that end line, I'm going to come down by 0.5 inch. So my stitching will start from that extension. And of course, I'm going to stitch all around with 0.5. I hope you understand. I'll show you. So I have stitched it. Can you see? This is this is where my I started. This is where that line ends, and this is where my stitching started. So I will just flip it like this and give it a notch all the way to my collar as much as possible while I try not to cut my seam line. So I'm going to flip it in like this, but I'm not really satisfied with what my left collar is looking like. So I'm going to notch it a little more while I flip. So it's well rested now. Can you see? It's so easy. So I'm going to flip it to the wrong side like this, and I'm just going to stitch with half an inch. I have stitched it. I will trim off the excess and go over to my overlocking machine to overlock the rough edges. So I have overlocked the edges, and the next thing is to top stitch. This is my pocket. I am coming down by 2 inches. I will connect together, go over to my sewing machine and stitch like this. So there is no actual measurement as to, there is no rule as to how big or how small it should be. But as for me, the width is 7.5 and the length is 9 inches. So I'm going to decide on where to place it. I want it to be 1 inch below my client's waistline. So our waistline is 16.5, so I will just place it on 17.5. and I will carefully pin all around. I'm just going to stitch with 0.5 inch all around like this. So I went ahead to cut two strips, and in placing it, I'm going to ensure that it's on the same line with the pocket. So this strip is 3 inches wide. As you can see, I will fold it and go ahead to stitch it at the upper part. I have stitched it and I think I should just trim it off a little. So I have trimmed. Decide on where you want to place it. I think I'm okay with this side. So I'm going to fold it into half on the upper part, and then I'll flip it with half an inch all the way while I stitch directly on top of my folding. I'm going to fold with 0.5. So I have stitched it, can you see? And you're going to flip it like this. So I have not stitched to the end yet. I'll show you how to do it. So if your strip is longer than this, trim it and leave 0.5 inch behind. Then you fold the 0.5 inch inward like this. You stitch like this, then when you are done, you place it like this and you stitch. Then you flip it like this. So this is the second strip. The distance between the two, I want the distance between the two to be 1 inch. So that's the marking that you are seeing. And then from that 1 inch, which is the first marking, I am marking 2 inches, which I later reduced to 1.5. So I'm going to once again fold my fabric like this and place it on that line, but I later reduced it to 1.5. So reduce yours to 1.5 and stitch directly on top of the marking. So by the time I fold, can you see I have 1.5 in between? That's why I went to reduce it. I don't want to have 1.5, I want 1 inch. So I stitch directly on top of my new mark. Can you see the 0.5 behind my flap? Now if you measure the distance between the two, you will see that it is 1 inch. I hope you understand. The next thing I'm going to do, give it a very good press. So can you see? It seemed as though it would not rest. Can you see? So I'm going to mark my preferred spacing for the eyelet. I'll be using 2 inches after my first marking. So I have a tutorial where I taught extensively on how to use soldering iron to make your eyelets. So do well to check it up. I will leave the link in the description box. This is going to be the belt. I will pass you through the eyelet. Guys, right about now, I'm supposed to show you the outcome of this outfit on my model, but she's been indisposed for a while now, and it would be quite unreasonable to put her under the pressure of trying it out for me. But I assure you that as soon as she's back to her feet, I'm going to get a picture of the outfit on her and I will change my thumbnail to that. Also, like I said earlier, I have a video on how to use your soldering iron to fix your eyelets. I will drop the links in the description box. I also have a video on how to lace your eyelets. I will equally drop the links in the description box. If you watch to this extent, thank you so much for watching. Till I see you in my next tutorial. Please stay safe.